And today's session is going to give you some time to reflect on your current leadership beliefs while also providing you with some suggestions on how to influence others from anywhere in the organization. So all you'll need today is an open mind and a pen and a paper to maybe jot down some ideas or compelling thoughts or concepts that you learn about today. But don't forget, we'll put a recorded session on the intranet page as well as copies of these materials and handouts following today's session. So don't worry about having to write down everything we talk about today. There will be materials available for you online on the company intranet page. So before we get started, let's take a moment to get centered and reflect upon today's session. I found a fitting reflection about leadership, and this is by an anonymous author. And they write, "I went on a search to become a leader. I searched high and low. I spoke with authority. People listened. But alas, there was no one who was wiser than I, and they followed that individual. I sought to inspire confidence, but the crowd responded, 'Why should I trust you?' I postured, and I assumed the look of leadership with a countenance that followed with confidence and pride. But many passed me by and never noticed my air of elegance. I ran ahead of the others, pointed the way to new heights. I demonstrated that I knew the route to greatness. And then I looked back, and I was alone. 'What shall I do?' I queried. 'I've tried hard, and I've used all that I know.' And I sat down and pondered long. And then I listened to the voices around me, and I heard what the group was trying to accomplish. I rolled up my sleeves and joined in the work. As we worked, I asked, 'Are we all in together, and what we want to do, and how to get the job done?' And we thought together, and we fought together, and we struggled toward our goal. I found myself encouraging the faint-hearted. I sought the ideas of those who were too shy to speak out. I taught those who had little skill. I praised those who worked hard. And when our task was completed, one of the group turned to me and said, 'This would never have been done without your leadership.' At first I said, 'I didn't lead. I just worked with the rest.' And then I understood. Leadership is not a goal. It's a way to reaching a goal. I lead best when I help others to go where we've decided to go. I lead best when I help others to use themselves creatively. I lead best when I forget about myself and the leader and I focus on my group and their needs and their goals. To lead is to serve, to give, and to achieve together." So a great reflection in thinking about today how we can lead and influence together. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, regardless of our current positions within the organization, that we all have the ability to influence and lead others. And developing future leaders for an organization and for our own professional development is asking ourselves these tough questions. Are we making the most of our current impact and building the future career we're after? And we're going to talk about how we develop our influence from anywhere in the organization. So I want to share with you an interesting fact. The reality is the majority of all leadership occurs not from the top, but from the middle of the organization. And the question remains, have you asked yourself, are you making the most of your current position to practice, exercise, and extend your influence? And today we're going to take the time to find out. So think about the world around you. Put yourself in the middle square and reflect on those above you. This could be your supervisor's manager, the director at your location or in your department, or even your senior leader. Now think about your peers. These are the people beside you. This includes your peers inside your location or department, as well as your peers throughout the entire organization. Now think about those individuals who support you. They may or may not be your direct reports. You may not have anyone directly reporting to you, but I bet you have people who support you in your daily tasks. Reflect on those around you, and I mean all around you. How do you support them in their endeavors? Today's session will uncover ways you can influence and lead those around you, all around you, above, across, and below. And as we talk about leading and influencing all around you, we're also going to talk about followership. And what you'll see is following someone is not a linear experience. It's not the follow the leader as we've so thought that it's, top down. People can follow you anywhere around you. Someone above you in a position can still follow your lead. You have the ability to create that followership all around you, and we're going to discover how. So let's take a moment to do some self-reflection. Ask yourself each of these questions and whether or not they're true statements. I'm going to give you a minute to work through each of these questions as they appear on the screen. 1. My position within the organization limits my ability to lead others. Is this a true statement or a false statement for you? 2. The opportunity to lead will come only when I'm at the top of the organization. Is this a true or false statement for you? 3. My influence with others is directly related to my title. True or false? And 4. It's out of line to try to influence those above me. And I resent it when someone who reports to me tries to influence me. Is this true or false? Now try to be honest with yourself. You don't have to share these answers with anybody else. We're giving you that gift of self-reflection to figure out where your obstacles might be in developing your future leadership skills. Maybe take a moment to jot down your true and false responses to these 4 questions and keep these answers handy. After we review the next section of today's session, see if any of your answers change or if the information you learn continues to strengthen your views on your leadership abilities. So keep these handy and we'll revisit them again shortly. But before we tackle your answers, let's briefly review a few levels of leadership. As you move through that leadership ladder, you'll be faced with many different challenges and obstacles. It's important that today we debunk some of those leadership myths that might be standing in your way, such as, I can't lead if I'm not at the top, or when I get to the top, then I'll learn to lead, or if I was on top, then people would follow me, or I can't reach my potential if I'm not the top leader, and so on and so forth. Today we're going to give you the facts about each of these obstacles so you can start making a difference to those around you. So let's take a moment to review each of these levels: position, permission, production, people development, and personhood, and what it means to growing your leadership followership. So let's start with position, which we found a really cute comic to illustrate the myth around position. And it says, I find it rather demotivating that you never praise me for a job well done. And the supervisor says, you've never done a job well. And the associate, that's because I'm demotivated. And the supervisor says, well, you have to go first. But wouldn't that make me the leader? And the first level of leadership is position. And it's important to remember that leadership and position are not directly tied to one another. Leadership can develop over time as influence naturally builds. And that's what we're going to talk about today, our circle of influence. And we have to remember the right to lead must be earned, because leadership is a choice you make, not a place you sit. As we learned in the reflection earlier, it's not a goal to be achieved. It's a task. It's in our doing. So that position mindset often has individuals who can, make the mistake of thinking people will follow because they have to. And it's important to remember that our influence doesn't extend beyond the lines of our job when we think in this mindset. And the longer we stay at this mindset, the higher turnover and the lower morale for those people that might be directly reporting to us or those people around us we're supporting. People will follow initially because they have to, but that doesn't mean that they'll continue to do so. So what does this mean for your leadership skills? Think about the world around you. Who follows you? Does your leader follow you? Do your peers or the people that support you follow you? Challenge yourself to change the have to mindset. She has to work with me on this project. It's her job. To work to earn their followership. She wants to work with me on this project because I add value to her. That's the difference in changing the position mindset. Let's talk permission. The permission level of leadership is when the individuals think that if they are fun or friendly, people will follow them because they want to. This definitely allows work to be fun, but it may not be enough to motivate or influence everyone around you. So the longer we stay at this mindset, it allows for potentially highly motivated people around you to get restless. Work needs a balance of fun and of purpose. Think about how you balance fun with purpose as you influence those around you. Do you find success in making work fun and exciting while also giving perfect purpose and goals and strategy? Next, let's talk about the production mindset. Production is the doing part of leadership. We talked about this early in our reflection. Leadership and influencing others is not a goal, it's our task. People will follow you because of what you're doing. Remember that old adage, actions speak louder than words? Well, this is a perfect example of how our leadership actions will speak louder than words. So how does your personal production showcase your leadership results? People will follow you because of what you've done for them or for the organization. And this is where success is sensed by most people around you. It's also an exciting area where problems can be fixed with very little effort because the momentum is being created by all of the action occurring in our production mindset. So if you haven't achieved this level of leadership, it's a great area to strive. It's a great initial goal to think about is getting to supporting those around you under the mindset of doing. And we take this a step further. We build on that doing. That doing mindset then turns into the people development level of leadership. And this is where long-term growth occurs for most individuals. People will follow you because of what you have done for them. You're ensuring a commitment to their growth. Who wouldn't want to follow someone who's committed to them? We've talked a lot in other excellence in management sessions about putting others first, and this applies directly to your developing leadership skills as well. You should always work to strive and do whatever you can to achieve this level of leadership development. Because when you focus on the world surrounding you before your own agenda, your agenda somehow magically is always met. Remember, do unto others, the law of reciprocity. They're all same great concepts to meet the same end result. Putting others first. Focusing on others' success. Supporting the initiatives of those around you. So what have you done lately to help your leader develop? Or your peers? Or those supporting you? Take a quick moment. Reflect on some of the successes in those areas. Maybe jot them down if you need a reminder every once in a while. I know sometimes we get moving so fast we forget to celebrate. So write down what you've done to develop your leader, your peers, or those supporting you. Maybe even give yourself a quick pat on the back. You deserve it. Developing others, regardless of their position or yours, is the foundation for strong leadership skills. And finally, the final level of leadership is all about respect. It's personhood. People will follow you because of who you are and what you represent. You may find yourself striving for this high-level leadership seat. It's saved for the best of the best. It's for those who have spent years and years growing and developing other people and the organization. If this is your goal and your dream, focus on your followership and you'll find your way. That includes the production and people development levels, really honing in and spending your time and energy on those levels to get here. Some of you, however, might strive to be the best level of support to the individuals in this high leadership seat. and supporting that world around you. You don't have to be the CEO or vice president of an organization to garner this kind of respect. You can lead, influence, and develop those around you while effectively supporting those at the top. Your career goals are just that. They're yours. But the path to influence is the same, regardless of your position. Whether you're the CEO or a part-time associate, to earn this kind of respect, regardless of our titles, it requires putting other people first. So let's take a moment to revisit your answers. Did any of them change? My position within the organization limits my ability to lead others. Is that a true statement to you now or a false statement? The opportunity to lead will come only when I'm at the top of the organization. Is that true or false to you? My influence with others is directly related to my title. True or false? And it's out of line to try to influence those above me, and I resent it when someone who reports to me tries to influence me. Think about it. Did any of your answers change? Did your ideas about leadership get stronger as we talk through some of these high-level concepts? And if you answered no or false to any of these questions, think about how you can begin changing your mindset and leading from where you are today. So let's revisit some of these myths. Be honest with yourself. Have you ever gotten caught up in one of these myths before? Take a moment and think through these statements. Which one have you caught yourself thinking? And don't worry, you don't have to share your answers with anybody. So take this opportunity to be really honest. Because developing your leadership abilities and improving your followership requires taking a look at our limiting beliefs. If we don't believe we have the ability to influence the people around us, and I mean all around us, above, across, and below, we are our own obstacles. So let's take a moment to debunk some of these common leadership myths and start changing some of those limiting beliefs. Let's start with the destination myth. That myth, if I were on top, then people would follow me. Sometimes people who don't have a lot of leadership experience may overestimate the importance of a title. Have you ever thought that having a certain position would give you a chance? But what we're learning today is that may not be the case at all. Cute little comic, I'll give you a second to read it. So let's continue this thought. If I were on top, people would follow me. You can grant someone a position, but you can't grant them real leadership. That influence must be earned. Quick story about President Woodrow Wilson. He had a housekeeper who constantly went on that she and her husband didn't possess the more prestigious position in life. And one day she approached the president after she heard the Secretary of Labor had resigned. She said, "My husband's perfect. He's a laboring man. He knows what labor is. And if you appointed my husband, he would be influential." How often have we thought similar things for ourselves? If I were on the top, I could make a difference. But the real question is, what holds you back from making a difference today? And when we dig real deep, we know it's us. So let's talk about the influence myth. When I get to the top, then I'll lead. Have you ever thought, when I get to a certain position, then I'll make a difference? When I'm a manager, I'm a director, a VP, then I'll have what it takes to make a difference? The reality is, if you want to succeed tomorrow, you have to be able to lead today. If you need to learn as much as you can about leadership before you can even take a leadership position, think about this like running a marathon. Would you ever approach running 26.2 miles the same way you're thinking about leadership? No way. You need a training plan way before you even step up to that starting line. Just like with anything, you learn more by doing, by rolling up your sleeves, and by being in the trenches. You learn from your mistakes, and they're much better made in the middle when they have smaller impacts. So don't be afraid to take that leap of faith and start learning today. So the important message about debunking our influence myth is dig in today. Only you can hold yourself back. So if you want to succeed tomorrow, you have to learn to do it today. How about the inexperience myth? When I get to the top, I'll be in control. Okay, so be honest. Have you ever found yourself saying something like, if I were in charge, we wouldn't have done it this way. We would have done this. Or if I were in charge, we would have done X instead of Y. The good news, if you think like that, your desire is the mark of a great leader. The bad news, without experience being the top person, we likely overestimate the amount of control we actually have. Position does not give you total control or protect you. Many factors control the organization, and it's important that we see the big picture. It can be easy to think life at the top is easier. It's not always the case. Let me give you an example. In 1998, Fortune named Carly Fiorina the most powerful woman executive in the United States. She was the CEO of HP. And in 2002, she orchestrated an incredible merger with Compaq to compete with Dell. Things didn't go so well for the next couple of years. Finally, she thought things were looking up. She was feeling upbeat. And then the board asked for her resignation. Because oftentimes, the top comes with more responsibility and even less control. The grass isn't always greener, which is why it's important to do what you can today to support those around you. So it's not necessarily the case when I get to the top that I'll have all the control. What about the freedom myth? When I get to the top, I'll no longer be limited. But oftentimes when you move up in an organization or in a role or a department, the weight of your responsibility increases. And sometimes the amount of responsibility you take on increases faster than the amount of authority you receive. Good leaders go to their people to connect, find common ground, and empower them to succeed. So in some ways, leaders may have less freedom as they move up, not more. So think to yourself, have you ever thought, when I get to the top, I've made it. When I finally finish climbing that corporate ladder, I'll have time to rest. I'll take a vacation. Or when I'm in charge, the sky will be the limit. If you have, the reality is, in many organizations, as you move up the ladder, you may find that the amount of responsibility you take is in direct disproportion to the amount of authority you receive. So that's what this picture is showing. Your rights and responsibilities, increase and decrease throughout your move upwards. So think about your own personal leadership journey, as well as when you're supporting those around you. Great leadership teams are always stronger than one great leader. Let's talk about the potential myth. I can't reach my potential if I'm not the top leader. This is an important thing to remember. People should strive for the top of their game, not the top of the organization. Each of us should work to reach our potential, not necessarily that big corner office. Sometimes you can make the greatest impact from somewhere other than first place. Let's take politics as an example. The Vice President of the United States. We'll use Dick Cheney. He was the White House Chief of Staff to President Ford. He was a 6-term congressman from Wyoming. He was a Secretary of Defense to George W. Bush. And he was the Vice President backing up his partner. He had the credentials to be the president, but maybe it wasn't the top position and it wasn't the best role. Or the best role for his skill sets. So I'm going to show you a quick video just to kind of further elaborate on being the best in your game is what we should strive for, and maybe not the best in the organization. So let's take a moment to have a quick laugh.
When I grow up, I want to file all day. I want to claw my way up to middle management. Be replaced on a whim. I want to have a brown nose. I want to be a yes man. Yes woman. Yes sir. Coming sir. Ready anything for a raise, sir. When I grow up, I want to be underappreciated. Be paid less for doing the same job. I want to be forced into early retirement.
A silly way to orchestrate how many times we maybe miss the middle when we're striving for the top. How many kids have you heard say, someday when I grow up I want to be the vice president of the United States? Probably not. At a very young age, kids learn to strive for their best, shoot for the stars. But it doesn't always mean that they have to be the top in order to have that kind of influence or that kind of success. So the important thing, don't quit shooting for your goals or your career goals or your dreams, but strive to be the top of your game today in your search for whatever career path is right for you. And finally, let's talk about the all or nothing myth. If I can't get to the top, then I'm not going to try to lead. It's that same philosophy. If I can't be the captain of the team, then I'll take my ball and go home. It's definitely not something we encourage our kids to do, so why would we do that in the workplace? We need to start believing that we can become a better leader wherever we are. Be improving your leadership skills, you can impact the organization, and you can change people's lives. You can be someone who adds value. You just have to be looking for ways you can add value right where you are. So next, we're going to talk about some specific tactics to support the world around you, to developing that future leadership skills. So go back to that early image of you in the center box with your leader above you, your peers beside you, and the people who support you below you. Do you know how to effectively lead at each of those levels? We're going to spend some time outlining a few things you can do to lead up, lead across, and lead down. And don't forget, a really detailed overview of each of these topics and how to strengthen your abilities in each of these areas will be available to you following this webcast on the intranet page. So don't worry about writing down every word. Just jot down the things that might be most compelling or move you as we move through the next part of this session. So first, we're going to talk about leading up. It's that philosophy of follow me, I'm right behind you. Leading up is the process of influencing a leader. The process includes lightening the leader's load by being willing to do what others won't, and while knowing when to push forward or when to push back. We're going to go over 9 principles of leading up, and we're going to take 3 of them in depth. So the first one we're going to talk about is lead yourself exceptionally well. What does this mean? This is about improving ourselves, being good at the position we're in today. This is about self-management, discipline, and focus when managing your emotions, time, priorities, energy, our thinking, the words we use, and our personal life. It's also about lightening your leader's load. The best way to lighten your leader's load is by doing your job well first. What a phenomenal concept. Be the best version of yourself you can possibly be. And be willing to do what others won't. Be willing to do something because it matters, not because it'll get noticed. It's easier for us to move from failure to success than it is from excuses to success. The goal is to be more important than the role. It's bigger than our own personal agendas. So let's focus a little bit more about lightening your leader's load. And that's about being the best version of yourself you can possibly be. And that's keeping your eye on the ball, keeping the eye on your ball and your game by doing your own job well first. It's when you're doing your job, you find a problem, also provide a solution. Never bring problems to your leader's desk if you're not willing to also offer a solution. And tell your leaders what they need to hear, not always what they want to hear. Try to go the second mile and ask your leader how you can help lift the load. And most importantly, stand up for your leader whenever you can and stand in for your leader whenever you can. If you do these things, if you focus on lifting the load for your leader by being the best you can be at your role, you will have the power to influence. How about do more than manage, lead? It's about dealing with morale and motivation, momentum, attitudes, the environment around you, and timing. It's investing in relational chemistry, earning trust, and supporting your leader's vision. Do you know what your leader's priorities are? If you don't, it's time to ask. And be prepared every time your leaders presented you with an opportunity for their time in a meeting, one-on-ones. You need to think and plan ahead. Your 5 minutes of planning might save you an hour of time. So let's take a moment to expand on the 10 times rule. Basically, this is being prepared every time you take your leader's time. Be prepared to invest 10 times the amount of effort than what you're asking from them. If you have a 5-minute conversation with them, did you prepare for almost an hour? Did you think through all the problems and the solutions? Are you coming with the questions and all the information you need? One of the best ways to save time is to think and plan ahead. 5 minutes of thinking can often save so much work. Don't make people think for you. Bring something to the table. And when asked to speak in a meeting, in front of a group, don't wing it. Be prepared. Learn to speak your leader's language and make sure you're getting to the bottom line. You've probably heard the phrase before, match your time with their efforts. Well, here, when it comes to influencing up, match your efforts with their time and give a return on your leader's investment in you. The last 3 principles to leading up is know when to push and when to pull back. Understanding when something's truly urgent and might be impacting your responsibilities, and knowing when to hold back. A point's been made. It's time to move on. It's also knowing when to become a go-to player, when you find a way to make things happen no matter what. And be better tomorrow than you are today. That's learning your craft today and practicing your craft today. That's all about being the best version of yourself you can be. So let's take a moment and expand on being a go-to player. Go-to players produce when the pressure's on. That's that wide receiver the quarterback can always count on to be open near the end zone every time they throw the ball. There are people who find a way to make things happen no matter what. They don't have to be familiar in their surroundings. They don't have to be in their comfort zones. They produce when the resources are few, when the momentum is low, when the load is heavy. If you have the willingness and the capacity to lift the load of your leader when they need it, you will have the ability to influence. And go-to players produce even when the leader is absent. So think of yourself as a go-to player. What are your strengths? Make sure you continue to capitalize on them. So let's talk about leading across. It's the follow me. I'll walk with you. I'll walk beside you. Leaders in the middle of an organization are the leaders of other leaders. These leaders help peers achieve positive results. They let the best idea win, and they garner mutual respect. These leaders must develop and maintain credibility and continually exert influence. So we've got a few leadership principles. Let's take an opportunity to go through leading across. So first, it's understanding, practicing, and completing the leadership loop. Lead people so we all win together. We're going to spend time going over this one in a little more detail. It's putting completing fellow leaders ahead of competing with them. We all know a little competition is healthy, but use it to leverage an organizational win. Competition shouldn't be about promoting self. It should be about selfless promotion. Be a friend. Be a friend to your peers. Friendship is built on listening and finding common ground. And be available to create a positive atmosphere. And this then leads into point 4. Avoid office politics. Avoid gossiping and petty arguments. People who want to lead across take a broader view. They're always looking at what's best for the whole. So what about this leadership loop? Great leaders don't just use people so they can win. They lead people so that we can all win. And this leadership loop, as you can see, is cyclical. They need each other. It's a cycle and a process. When you care and you're taking an interest in people, it leads to learning, getting to know people, which leads to appreciating and respecting people, and then contributing and adding value. Then verbalizing, affirming people, recognizing them. And then you can lead and influence. And that's where success occurs, when you win with other people. That leadership loop is so important, building upon each area. So take a moment. Look at this leadership loop. Where do you think you excel, and where do you think you might get jammed up every once in a while? That'll give you an opportunity to know where your successes are and maybe where some areas of opportunity to improve might be. The final principles of leading across: expanding your circle of acquaintances. This can be tough for people to go beyond their inner circle, the close people that they sit at lunch with every day or they talk to every day. Maybe expanding outside your expertise. Maybe you primarily network with those only in your discipline. Or expanding outside of your strengths or your personal prejudices or even your routine. Future leaders who lead across also let the best idea win. They avoid taking rejection personally and let the best idea for the organization or the team as a whole win. And they don't pretend they're perfect. It's okay to admit our faults. We all have them. And it's okay to ask for advice. It's okay to ask for help. It's important that we're open to what we can learn from other people. There's always another way to approach the problem. So let's take a little bit of time to talk about letting the best idea win. As you think about developing your future leadership skills, it's looking at the greater good, the whole picture. So when future leaders let the best idea win, they listen to all ideas. They never settle for just one idea. Brainstorming isn't just creating one solution. There might be multiple ways to get there. Future leaders look at unusual places for ideas. And they don't let personality overshadow purpose. They protect creative people and their ideas, and they don't take rejection personally. So are you capable of letting the best idea win? Are you capable of allowing, personality and rejection and settling fall to the wayside and focus on the greater good and the whole picture? Finally, leading down. Follow me and I'll add value to you. Leaders at the top who lead down help people realize their potential, become a strong role model, and encourage others to become part of a higher purpose. This involves walking through the halls, transferring your vision, and rewarding for results. So we're going to talk about 7 principles to leading down. And this applies whether or not you have direct reports. You have the ability to lead those that support you. So let's talk about some of those principles. It includes walking slowly through the halls. This may seem silly, but in order to connect with people, you have to travel at their speed. We don't ask people to keep up with us when we're trying to connect. We're traveling at their speed. And if you tend to people, they will tend to the business. It's about seeing everyone as a 10. Always seeing people as who they can become, not who they are. Or who we think they are. Develop each team member as a person. Development is a long-term process. Development is a long-term process for those around us, but also for ourselves. It's placing people in their strength zones. Successful people will find their own strengths, and successful leaders will be able to find them for others. It's also about modeling the behavior you desire. Followers will become like their leaders. Think about that. Followers will become like their leaders. So leader behavior determines the culture of the organization or their department or their branch or their division of the organization. What kind of culture are you setting? Is it something you can be proud of? Transfer the vision. Set followers up for success with goals and a strategy for your clear vision and for your purpose. And reward results. Whatever gets rewarded gets accomplished. So praise efforts and reward the results. And I want to take the opportunity to talk about seeing everyone as a 10. I think this is a fabulous concept. If you take away one thing from this, this is a skill that can help you develop leadership. Because if we aren't able to see everyone as a 10, if we aren't able to believe in others, how can you ask them to believe in themselves? Do you see them as who they can become? Maybe sometimes people need to borrow your belief in them. When the people you lead don't believe in themselves, you can help them. Try catching them doing something right. Believe the best. Give others the benefit of the doubt. And realize that a 10 has many definitions. That's where rewarding for results comes into play. But to always give them a 10 treatment. If someone has let you down, if someone has had a lapse in their development, do they still deserve to be treated like a 10? A future leader thinks so. See and lead people as they can be, not as they are, and you will be amazed by how people respond to you. So commit for one day at a time, one meeting at a time, one phone call at a time to treat everyone you encounter as a 10. I guarantee you will be amazed by the results. Because the key to emerge as a good leader at a higher level is to be cognizant of good leadership in the present. Are you cognizant of your leadership abilities and skills right where you are? Are you focused on making a difference to those around you, above, across, below? If not, it's up to you to start doing it today. Again, we have total control. So what are your takeaways as you leave today? What are your takeaways? It's remembering a leadership team is more effective than just one great leader, no matter how great. So our great leaders need us to be great leaders right where we are. Because leaders are needed at every level in the organization, from the CEO to that part-time associate. Leading successfully where you are is a qualifier for leading at the next level. So if your goal is to move up that leadership ladder, do it well today. And good leaders in the middle make better leaders at the top. It's like training for that marathon. You're going to have a much better race if you start training today than if you wait till you get to that finish line or that starting line. And learn to lead up, across, and down. So if you want more information about how to expand your abilities to leading up, across, and down, visit the intranet page. There's more information on building future leaders, archived webcast activities, archived newsletters, as well as the handouts for today's session. Also look for this information in your upcoming weekly update. You'll be able to download all that information right from your email. And don't forget to go online to the intranet page and fill out a survey. Let us know what you thought of today's session. Let us know what you are looking for from future sessions, and also get credit for attending for today. And don't forget to join us next time as we talk about giving effective feedback to those around you. We'll discuss the powers of positively giving sometimes that hard conversations to other people. And we look forward to seeing you next time on February 26th for our next optional webcast, which you'll be able to register for as a part of the weekly update that'll be sent to you a few weeks before the February 26th webcast. So again, thank you for your time today. Thank you for making the commitment for the self-reflection, taking your notes and those tips that you learned today and applying it today. Thank you, and we look forward to you as you continue on your journey in developing your future leadership skills.